Chief Teo Aladil was in a hurry. His gold wristwatch blinked at him, 8:35 a.m. He buttoned his suit jacket in front of the long mirror in his bedroom. The navy blue fabric hugged his broad chest like power itself. His driver was already waiting by the car, the one with tinted glass and silver rims. Today was a big day. He had a major deal to sign. A billion-naira deal that would push Crestrock Real Estate ahead of every company in Lagos. As he adjusted his tie, a soft knock came at the door. It was strange. Nobody knocked on his bedroom door unless it was important. He opened it, and there she stood. Amara. Her eyes were wide. Her voice shook. "Sir, please don't go out today." Teo frowned. "What is it?" "I saw something in a dream. This morning. Your car crashed. There was blood. Fire. Screaming. Her voice cracked. You didn't make it." Teo blinked, unsure if he had heard correctly. "Amara, are you feeling all right?" "I'm sorry, sir. I know it sounds crazy. But please, don't go. Not today. Not with that car." Her hands were shaking. Her voice was gentle, but urgent, like a whisper from the wind just before a storm. He studied her. Amara had worked in the house for only 6 months. Quiet, always in the background. She moved like air, present but unnoticed. She never gossiped. Never asked for anything. But this was strange. Till something in her eyes made him pause. "What exactly did you see?" he asked. Amara swallowed hard. The driver turned left after the bridge at mile 12. A red truck ran the light and crashed into the car. The front of the car caught fire. "You were inside." Teo scratched his chin. "What happened to the driver?" "He jumped out." "But you were stuck." It was too detailed. Too specific. Teo sighed, then gave a dry chuckle. "All right. I'll take another car. Just to make you feel better." "No, sir," she said quickly. "It's not the car. It's today. If you leave this house now, something bad will happen." He stared at her. Something about the way she spoke made the air feel tight around him. Like Lagos heat had crept inside his skin. He checked his watch again. 8:43 a.m. His phone rang. It was his driver. "Yes." "Sir, should I start the engine?" the driver asked. Teo looked at Amara. She didn't blink. "No," Teo said. "Let's postpone the meeting." There was a long pause. "Are you sure, sir?" "Yes." "Tell them to reschedule." "All right, sir." He ended the call and looked at Amara. "Happy now?" Amara didn't smile. "Thank you, sir. You don't know what you just escaped." Teo waved her off, shook his head, and walked back into his room. He turned on the TV to distract himself. The news was on. Lagos traffic. Fuel scarcity. Same old chaos. But 10 minutes later, his phone buzzed again. This time, it was his personal assistant, Bola. "Chief, are you okay?" Teo frowned. "Yes, why?" "There's been an accident. A bad one. Just after mile 12. A red truck crashed into a black SUV with silver rims. Caught fire. People say it looks like your car." Teo sat down slowly. "My car?" "Yes, sir. Your driver is in the hospital. He jumped out before the fire got worse." "But sir, if you were inside." Teo dropped the phone. Amara was right. Every detail. Exactly like she said. He stood up, went downstairs slowly. The house was too quiet. He found Amara in the kitchen, slicing yam. She looked up at him, calm, steady. "I saw it, sir," she said quietly. "That's why I begged you." He didn't speak. He just stared at her, something stirring deep in his chest. Gratitude. Confusion. Fear. Amara, he said. What are you? She lowered her eyes. Just a maid, sir, who dreams sometimes. That night, Chief Teo couldn't sleep. He kept picturing the crash, the flames, his body burnt, broken, silent, and her face, calm, soft, like she had seen more than she should. Was it luck? Coincidence? Or something more? Zena, his wife, barely noticed. She came home from a spa date, smiled, poured wine, and scrolled through her phone. She didn't ask why he looked pale. Didn't ask about the meeting. Why are you so quiet? She asked lazily. Nothing, Teo replied. Just thinking. But inside, he wasn't just thinking. He was wondering. Why did Amara have that dream? And what else could she see? Zena never liked maids. To her, they were shadows that didn't know their place. She believed they were too nosy, too clingy, or too lazy. In just 3 years of marriage, she had fired 7 different housemaids. One cried too much. One prayed too loudly. One even got slapped for using Zena's body lotion. But Amara was different. She moved like a ghost, cleaning without being seen, cooking without asking, and listening without interrupting. She spoke only when necessary, and even then, her voice was soft like morning rain. She wore plain clothes, kept her hair in tight braids, and always looked at the ground when Zena passed. Still, Zena didn't trust her. She's too quiet, Zena told her friend over the phone one afternoon. Those are the dangerous ones. They're the ones who hide and wait until you're not looking. Fire her, then, her friend replied. Zena sighed. I don't know. She makes the house feel peaceful. Even Teo seems calmer when she's around. It was true. Teo had been sleeping better, smiling more, even eating meals at the dining table again. And for a man like him, always chasing power and rushing from deal to deal, that was unusual. But what shook him most wasn't Amara's cooking or her silence. It was the second dream. Came just a week after the car crash she had predicted. That morning, Amara stood by his study door, holding a tray of tea. She didn't speak right away. She waited until Zena left the room. Sir, she said quietly, please don't sign the new hotel deal. Teo blinked. What? The one with blue pillar holdings. I saw it last night. Papers looked clean, but they were fake. Someone is setting you up. Teo felt a chill run through his arms. How do you know this? I saw it in a dream. Just like before. He stared at her. He had told no one about that deal, not even Zena. Only one person knew, Kunnel, his best friend and business partner. They had planned it together and were supposed to finalize it the next day. But Amara had seen it in a dream. Teo thanked her quietly and said nothing more. He didn't cancel the deal. He postponed it. And then, silently, he started watching. He dug into the background of blue pillar holdings. First, everything looked fine. Documents, signatures, company addresses, perfect. But then something caught his eye. One of the listed shareholders used a fake name. That name led him to a private account. And that account? Linked to Kunnel. Teo felt his stomach turn. He ran more checks. Every layer peeled back more lies. Kunnel had hidden files, redirected payments, even changed dates on company records. And Zena? She had signed documents too, documents she shouldn't even have seen. That night, he sat alone in his study, the evidence in front of him. His heart broke. Not because of the money, but because Kunnel was like a brother, and Zena was his wife. He thought of all the business trips Kunnel and Zena took together for the company. All the times Zena said, "I'll be back in 2 days," and returned with expensive perfumes and strange smiles. Teo couldn't sleep. And still, Amara said nothing more. She cleaned. She served food. She stayed silent. Zena, however, grew more restless. She noticed that Teo barely spoke to her. that he stayed up late in his study, that he asked no questions but watched everything. One morning, she confronted him. "Is something wrong with you?" "No," Teo replied calmly. "Just thinking." "Thinking? You don't think. You act." He smiled softly. "Maybe that's the problem." Zena narrowed her eyes. "Is this about the maid?" He turned slowly. "What about her?" "I think she's putting ideas in your head." Teo chuckled. "No. She's helping me see what was already there." Zena didn't like that answer. That evening, she tried to slap Amara in the kitchen. Amara ducked the blow, not with fear but with quiet strength. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't run. "Why are you still here?" Zena shouted. "Who sent you?" Amara looked her in the eyes for the first time. "I came where I was needed." Zena froze. Amara picked up her broom and walked out. Teo saw the whole thing from the stairs. He didn't stop her. He didn't speak. He just watched, his heart pounding like war drums. He knew now. Amara wasn't just a maid. She was something else. A light in the darkness. A whisper of truth. And he had only just begun to listen. Chief Teo Aladil sat alone in his car, parked outside a quiet hotel in Victoria Island. The night was warm, but inside him everything was cold. The evidence he had gathered over the last 2 weeks sat in a folder beside him. Bank transfers, voice notes, emails. Every page told the same story. Kunal was not just a thief. He was a traitor. And Zena, she was worse. She was his wife. The woman who smiled beside him at parties, who wore diamonds he bought, who whispered, "I love you," before bed. All lies. All carefully stitched lies. He didn't want to believe it until tonight. Amara had told him the truth, but some truths needed to be seen, not just heard. That's why he followed Zena from the house. She had told him she was meeting her cousin for dinner. But her cousin lived in Ibadan. Teo had watched her car weave through traffic, take the turn onto Bishop Aboyed Cole Street, and slide into the underground parking of West Bay Suites. Now he sat outside, his heart in pieces. He didn't want to go in, but he had to. Not because he needed proof, but because he needed closure. He put on a baseball cap and sunglasses, walked quietly into the hotel, and headed for the elevator. The receptionist barely looked up. He knew this place. They used to come here for quiet staycations. Now he was here alone, a broken man looking for broken promises. Room 604. He stopped in front of the door. His hand trembled slightly. Then he heard it, laughter. Zena's voice. And Kunal's. That was all he needed. He didn't knock. He didn't storm in. He simply turned away and walked back down the hall, every step heavier than the last. Side, the city lights blinked like lies. In his car, he didn't cry. He just breathed. In. Out. In. Out. The next morning, Teo sat at the head of the boardroom table at Crest Rock Real Estate. Kunal walked in like a king, smiling, adjusting his gold cufflinks, laughing with the other directors. Teo watched him. He didn't speak. Not yet. The meeting began. Kunal presented a new investment plan. Profits. Numbers. Smiles. When he finished, the room clapped. Teo stood slowly. He laid the folder on the table. "Before we vote," he said calmly, "I'd like to share something." The room went silent. He opened the folder. The photos came first, Kunal signing fake documents. Then the email trails. Then the hidden bank accounts. And finally, the voice recording. Zena's voice. "Once we get his signature, we move the funds to the offshore account. Teo is too proud to suspect anything. Kunal, we're almost there." Kunal's face cracked. The room gasped. Teo looked straight at him. "You were my brother." Kunal opened his mouth, then shut it. There were no words strong enough to cover betrayal. I'm removing you from the board, Teo continued. Legal action begins today. No, Teo, please let me explain. There's nothing left to explain. Security entered the room. Connell stood frozen. Then he dropped his eyes and walked out. The silence afterward was heavy. Everyone avoided Teo's eyes. They had clapped for Connell just 10 minutes ago. Teo left the room without another word. At home, Zena was waiting. She had heard the news. She stood in the living room, arms crossed, trying to look innocent. Teo, Don't, he said. I followed you. She blinked. He dropped divorce papers on the table. You planned to destroy me. But you forgot one thing. Zena's lip trembled. What? I had someone watching. Her eyes narrowed. The maid. Teo nodded. She saw what I refused to see. Zena laughed bitterly. She's just a house girl. Do you think anyone will believe her? Teo smiled. She didn't need to speak. She opened my eyes. Zena screamed and threw a glass. It shattered against the wall. Teo didn't flinch. He walked upstairs, packed her things, and sent them with the driver to her mother's house. He didn't say goodbye. He just closed the door. The next morning, Amara was waiting by the gate, a small bag in her hand. I'm leaving now, sir, she said softly. Teo stepped outside. Why? My work here is done. Who are you really, Amara? She smiled. Just a maid. No. You saved my life. Twice. You protected my company. You saw everything. Amara nodded. Some people are sent to build. Others are sent to watch. I was sent to warn. He was silent. I can pay you more. Give you anything you want. Please stay. Amara shook her head. You don't need me anymore. You've seen the truth now. She paused. Then added quietly, live right. Trust slowly. Watch everyone. With that, she turned and walked down the road. No car. No umbrella. Just the sun on her back and the wind in her scarf. Teo stood there for a long time. He had lost his wife, his best friend, almost his company. But he had gained something else. Eyes that could finally see. The mansion felt different. For the first time in years, it was quiet, not the cold kind of quiet that Zena had filled it with, but a peaceful silence. No shouting. No tension. No fake smiles. Just air. And light. And space to breathe. Chief Teo Aladil stood on his balcony, looking down at the city. Lagos buzzed below him, cars honking, people moving like ants with purpose. But inside him, something had slowed down. Grief, yes. Pain still fresh. But also relief. Zena was gone. Connell was out of his company. The lies had been peeled away like old skin. What remained was raw, but it was real. The housekeeper, Mama Ronk, came upstairs with his breakfast. She placed the tray carefully and smiled. It's quiet now, sir. Teo nodded. Yes. She left yesterday? Yes. Mama Ronk hesitated. She was different. Teo didn't answer. He was still thinking about Amara. She had walked away without asking for anything. No money. No gifts. No promises. Just a quiet goodbye. Her last words kept ringing in his head. Live right. Trust slowly. Watch everyone. He had written them in his journal. Read them every morning like scripture. A week passed. Then, too, the air in Crest Rock real estate began to change, too. Teo called a staff meeting and surprised everyone. No more backdoor deals, he said. We build homes that people can afford. We stop cutting corners. We stop bribing inspectors. If this company is going to survive, it must stand on truth. Some directors looked uncomfortable. Others clapped. One whispered, "Chief has changed." Oh. Teo didn't mind. He had changed. He moved his office to the second floor, closer to his workers, not above them. He started visiting construction sites himself. He even called the widow of a man who died during one of their unfinished housing projects and paid off the family's debt in full. The newspapers called it the Crest Rock shift. But Teo didn't care about headlines. Cared about peace. About being able to sleep at night without wondering who was plotting behind his back. And he started reading again. Old books. Proverbs. Letters his mother wrote before she died. One day, he opened the study drawer and found a small note tucked into the corner. It was Amara's handwriting. "Don't forget what your eyes have seen." He smiled. Some wounds take time to heal. But scars are reminders. Not of pain, but of survival. One morning, while jogging in his estate, Teo met a woman walking her dog. She wore no makeup, just joggers and a t-shirt that read "Kindness is a choice." Her smile was simple. Honest. They started talking. Her name was Ife. She ran a children's reading club. Loved local music. And laughed with her whole body. Teo didn't tell her who he was at first. He just listened. Felt good to talk without pressure. To laugh without suspicion. Weeks turned to months. They took walks. Shared books. Cooked jollof rice together, even though hers was always too spicy. One evening, while watching the sunset from her porch, she asked him, "Why do you always seem like someone who's seen too much?" Teo looked at her and said, "Because I have." Then he told her everything. Not the business version. Not the newspaper version. The real one. She listened. Quietly. Then took his hand. "You survived. That's enough." And for the first time in a long time, he believed it. At home, Mama Ronk brought out an old photo of Amara. It had been left behind on a shelf. In the picture, she stood in the kitchen, eyes soft, half smiling. Teo framed it and placed it on the corner table near his study. Not because she was family, but because she had become something else. A memory. A miracle. A messenger. A light drizzle fell on the rooftops of Ajigunal. The houses were smaller here, built tight beside each other. The streets were muddy, the air smelled of pepper soup and wet sand, and the children played with plastic bottles like they were gold. It was not Crest Rock or Victoria Island, but it was alive. A young woman walked into this neighborhood just before sunrise. She wore simple sandals and carried a small brown bag. Her scarf was tied neatly and her eyes looked ahead, not proud, not afraid. Her name was Amara. No one knew where she came from, but everyone felt it the moment she stepped into the compound of the Adeyemis. The Adeyemis were not poor, but they were not at peace. Mr. Adeyemi was a bank manager with a shiny car and a cold heart. His wife, Remy, was beautiful but tired, tired in the eyes, tired in the bones. She smiled for her. Neighbors laughed for the church but cried alone in her bathroom. Their home was big enough for help. So they hired a maid. Her name was Amara. Remy didn't speak much to her. Just gave instructions. Boil water. Clean the veranda. Don't touch my perfumes. Simple rules. Mr. Adeyemi barely noticed her. But the daughter, little Moyo, liked her immediately. "Are you an angel?" she asked one morning. Amara smiled. "No, just someone who listens." Every night, Amara sat on the balcony after her chores and closed her eyes. The wind spoke. The dreams returned. She saw Remy crying with a phone in her hand. She saw a hidden message on WhatsApp. A woman's photo. A soft laugh. A lie. She saw Moyo in her school uniform, crying by a gate, left behind again. And she saw Mr. Adeyemi. Not in his office. but in another woman's house, in another woman's bed. The dream woke her. The next morning she made Remy tea. "Madam," she said quietly, "if someone hides their phone from you, it's because they're hiding their truth." Remy looked up sharply. "What do you mean?" Amara didn't answer. She placed the tea down and left the room. That night, Remy checked her husband's phone. And the truth exploded. The next day there was shouting, tears, plates broken. But it didn't end the marriage. Something better happened. Remy stopped pretending. She told her husband to leave for a while. Told the pastor the truth. Started therapy. Enrolled Moyo in a better school. Sold her gold to pay the fees. Mr. Adeyemi? He vanished for a while. Then came back. Not as a proud man, but as a quiet one. He apologized. Not just to Remy, but to Moyo. And slowly, the house began to breathe again. One evening, Remy knocked on Amara's door. She found it open, but empty. The bed was made. Clothes were gone. Just one note remained. "You are stronger than your silence. Your heart deserves truth. Teach your daughter that." Tears ran down Remy's face. She pressed the note to her chest. In another town, another house, another family, a boy would soon begin lying to his parents. A girl would begin to cry at night. And Amara would arrive, walking, always walking, with her small bag and quiet smile. 'Cause Amara was never just a maid. She was a witness, a protector, a whisper between storms. And wherever there was danger hiding behind love, she would be there, sweeping lies from the corners, until the truth could breathe again. If you have not subscribed to my channel, you might not hear my voice again, but if you are, then you are growing every day. Check my page for more interesting stories. Thanks for watching.